Yep, you're seeing it right. That 49ers show is back, and this time it's here for a full season. Episode 1 begins right now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this premiere edition of That 49ers Show. Our executive producer is Cole Johnson. Our producer in studio is Shane Lake. Our coordinating producer, the lovely Dr. K, my beautiful wife, Jody Snow, and I have a partner with me. His name is Dr. Andre Fernandez.
What's
he joins
up, man?
me right now. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm super excited for the Niners season that's starting up. I loved watching the preseason game, and when you follow the Niners as closely as we do, you enjoy the entire preseason game. Back when I was a kid, I'd watch the first quarter, then be like, all right, this is kind of boring now.
Yep.
Now that I'm older, I love the entire game. I watch the entire thing to see how everyone performs, everyone does. So, dude, I'm just stoked that Niners are back.
I'm stoked too, man. After being 3 seconds away from the ultimate victory. And my wife asked me, was I going to cry if the Chiefs wound up winning? I looked at her and I said, nope, because we'll see him in New Orleans, which is the ultimate goal this year, is to get back to the Super Bowl. Niners are 0-1 in the preseason. They lost to Tennessee 17-13. And something you said before we came on the air is that when you first get into football, especially when it comes to the preseason, you get into the preseason, but then you don't. Now you're really into it. You're fully invested in it as long as you and I have watched and or covered the 49ers. What's some of the first things that you take? Let's not even concentrate on the offseason because that's still in motion because there's a couple of big deals to take care of, and we will get to those later. What's the first big thing you take from this preseason game?
The first big thing that I took from this game was that I felt way more confident. And this is just coming at it from just like any Niner fan will be able to see this. I felt better about the quarterbacks. I felt better about Brandon Allen, about Josh Dobbs. I liked how they performed. I like what they did. I like that Josh Dobbs literally sacrificed his own body to do a John Elway, getting knocked helicopter-wise into the end zone in a preseason game. And I thought that was great. I was like, dude, if he's going to do that, that sends a message to the locker room that like, hey, I'm all in, dude. I don't care if it's fucking preseason. I'm going to try and score a touchdown. And so I like that. The injuries was something that I didn't like. There's been quite a few of them. I think we'll probably talk about a little bit of that later on. And that's kind of scary. But then again, look, every season we have injuries. Yeah. And the players that are getting injured are the players that aren't necessarily like our main starters. Christian McCaffrey, calf injury, he wasn't going to play in the preseason anyway. He didn't play last year.
Right.
So, but the guys who did play in this last game, Dominic Pooney, I thought he looked really good. I was very impressed with his pass coverage. And then D. Winters looked good too, although he overran a number of plays that really annoyed me. In the secondary, I thought looked pretty good. Isaac Yiadom, Rock Ya-Sin did really good, and then he got hurt. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But I thought he played really well. So There was a lot of good things from this game, and of course, let's not forget J.P. Mason had a great first drive. He looked dominant against their defense, which I would assume is somewhat first team defense,
Hmm.
for them, and he ran right through them. And so for me, looking at what J.P. Mason did, I think that Kyle Shanahan needs to take a look in the mirror and say, hey, look, we need to start using him and McCaffrey interchangeable. It can't just be
Yes.
McCaffrey every single
Yes.
fucking possession. Like
Right.
every down, it was McCaffrey. And I
Hmm.
love Christian McCaffrey. He's amazing. But I think that you need to switch things up and kind of have sort of what they did in Baltimore a few years ago when they had two running backs. They had Ingram and they had another running back too. But anyway, they would kind of interchange them. And so
Yes.
you had your strong big back like JP Mason. Then you had your more finesse, your speed guy, and Christian McCaffrey. And I think that's where he works really good. Is having
Hmm.
being able to interchange those two. And I think if they do that, they're going to find a lot of success this season.
Well, McCaffrey's the workhorse. We know that. You got J.P. Mason, who was phenomenal, as you said, on Saturday. But then there's the wild card in Elijah Mitchell, who was
Mm-hmm.
our feature back 3 years ago that carried us to the brink of an NFC Championship. We mentioned the injuries, and during the last 5 preseasons, we have always had depth problems. We've always have had injury problems. And they've come at key positions. Yes, they have. But each of those last 5 seasons, including this past one, the Niners have figured it out. The people that were injured have gotten healthy, and the depth hasn't become an issue, say, like by week 8 or week 9 or last year,
Yeah.
week 11 or 10 when we came back from the bye and played Jacksonville. There are a couple of things that I take from this preseason game. One, a lot of nervous jitters,
Yeah.
lots of them, and there's going to be a lot of nervous jitters. There's going to be a lot of overrun plays. But you and I are cut from the same cloth. It just grinds your teeth when you see players, especially defensively, overrun plays,
Overrun. Yep. Dropping
Mhm.
passes. I'm like,
Dropping
oh.
passes. But all I have to say is my next 3 words. All I have to say is in due time. In due time, it's all going to come together. That's why you have these preseason games. That's why you have these workouts. That's why you
Mhm.
work on getting everything together, because by the time September 9th gets here and we're at home in Santa Clara and the Jets are shaking in their boots coming to us, we will have everything ready. That's why you iron all the jitters out
Yeah.
now. And
Exactly.
but as Nightfall drops said in the chat, and Nightfall, welcome to you. It is indeed these little things, the drops, the incorrect route running,
Mm-hmm.
and getting a feel for the offense. And Josh Dobbs is under center. You're not going to risk your, and think about this, folks. You're not going to risk your meal ticket or tickets in this case, 2 of which we have to sign, of course, being Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams. You're not going to risk your meal tickets in a preseason um, for them getting injured and costing you half the season. Because remember, we were without Christian McCaffrey for a couple of games. We were without Trent Williams for 3 games, and we lost Deebo Samuel. So the injuries have always,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, not been in our favor. Now, with the drafting of Ricky Pearsall, you get a lot of help at the receiver position. You get a lot of help at one of the best skilled rooms in the NFL. And Nightfall, thank you for mentioning this. A familiar face is back with the 49ers. His name, Matt Breida, out of Georgia Southern. I think we should not have let him go, but if we didn't, we wouldn't have McCaffrey. So now you have 4 capable running backs
Yeah.
who
That was a good
all
move.
know the system, who all know their roles, and can be, as you said, Dre, totally interchangeable
Yeah.
in
Mm-hmm.
this offense. There are still a lot of pieces to iron out about this 49er team. Now, You know what? Let's take a short break, and when we come back, we'll get to the contract negotiations. There's been some motion. There hasn't been some motion. We don't know what's going on, or whatever. Um, Talk to me about Trent Williams. Has there been any kind of movement with Trent Williams? If so, what happened?
No, as far as I know, and this is me looking up today, there has been no traction on Trent Williams. However, both sides feel like they're going to be able to get something done relatively quickly. Now, look, Trent Williams, he probably would have been at training camp, but I don't think he would have played in any of the preseason games. So he knows as well as they do. I wouldn't play anyway. But I
Right.
think that both feel very confident that they're going to be able to work out his deal because it's going to be a short-term deal anyway. It's not like he's going to
Yeah.
sign, like a 5-year deal. No, it's probably more like a
Mhm.
2-year, 3-year deal
Yep.
because he only has a couple years left in him anyway. Who knows how long he'll last? But what
Mhm.
I've heard today was that this is on X that both sides feel confident, but nothing has progressed because I think everything is hinging on the Brandon Ayuk situation.
Mhm.
And I think that they don't want to make a move to sign Trent Williams until they figure out the Ayuk situation because whatever he gets, then Ayuk's going to say, "Well, I want that too," or "I want something
Right.
similar to that," or so they're
Right.
like, I'm sure they've told Trent, "Hey," and we don't know this, but there's a chance that they could have already, told Trent, "Hey, this is what we're going to offer you, but we're going to do it right before, week 1." Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Like until then, just be cool and chill out wherever you want to chill out.
Just be cool, stay in shape,
Yeah.
and stay ready because we're talking about A, the best left tackle in the NFL, but B,
Yeah.
he is 36 years old.
He's 36. I
Which
mean,
is
I'm 42,
crazy to think about with how well he has played since he joined San Francisco.
and it's no joke. I mean, when you get past the age of like 35, you start to feel your body break down. I mean, look, I played in a 2-on-2 football game on the beach in the sand, and I am still recovering from that. And that was like over a month ago. My knees, my ankles. I tried to do a slide catch. I like slide on my knees and catch the ball.
And you paid for it.
No, immediately I felt pain like radiating down my shins. I was like, I just fell
Mm,
over. They're like, "Hey, you all right?" Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just like, yeah, it's not as easy as it looks, but yeah.
no.
So for him to do that at his age, at his size, yeah, he's incredible, man. He's a savage.
And the other thing is we also signed Christian McCaffrey to an extension. So that money's got to radiate in. They have the money to offer Brandon Ayuk what they want to offer him, and Trent Williams what they want to offer him. It's like what they did with Debo Samuel 4 years ago and with Nick Bosa last year. You want to get everything together. You want to make sure you get at least, and this is from the outside looking in, a verbal commitment from all these guys saying, "Yeah, I want to stay here. Now let's find the money." What the
Mm-hmm.
Niners do, and very, 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 very few teams do this, they think long term. Go back to the situation with Debo 4 years ago when teams were offering Debo 2-year deal, 3-year deal. No, 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 no. San Francisco wanted a 4-year deal with Debo Samuel, and I think Debo did too, but they wanted to offer the right amount of money up front to
Mm-hmm.
sign him, and then you put the incentives behind that. That I think that's what the rumblings are telling me that they're doing with Brandon Ayuk, because as you put the report out, um, he's willing to accept 28 million a year,
Yeah,
and all the
according to
reports
TJ Houchmanzada,
in the
according
city who's
to
was out,
his
right?
trainer. Yeah.
Hmm. Now, do you think he'll play on his 5th-year option? Since we're talking about Brandon Ayuk, because there are some reports that say he will. There are some that are saying no, I'm not going to play on a 5th-year deal. The point is, you signed the contract and you're inked for the 5th year, and until someone comes over the top with an offer that you can't refuse, you're playing that 5th year. Am I wrong in thinking that way, or am I wrong in seeing it that way?
Not at all. I mean, look, here's the thing. When it comes to the Brandon Ayuk situation, the Niners allowed him to seek out a trade. And I think what they did was this. Again, kind of thinking long term, saying, "Hey, okay, look, this guy keeps saying that he's going to hold out, and then demanding a trade." So they say, "You know what? Why don't you go and work out a trade, seek out a trade?" And because I think they told each other, "Hey, look, I think Lynch and Shanahan said, 'Hey, look, let's let him do this, and let's
Mhm.
just see what we get in return. If we get a phenomenal offer in return, then let's take it. But
Yes.
let's see what we get, because I mean, why close the option? Let's just see what's out there.
Mhm.
They got options. They got one deal, which supposedly that they were in favor of, which was for the Browns, a 2nd round, 5th round, and Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper.
But then he said, no, I don't want to go there. And then he said, I don't want to go to Patriots either, before they even really got anything hammered out. Because I'm sorry, Kendrick Bourne for him is not, that's not equivalent.
That's not.
But
that would be a horrible trade.
But what this does, though, is that they see what the options are out there. Let's see what he'll bring us. Wasn't really much of anything. But now Ayuk is like, wait a minute. So that's it? There's no other trade scenarios going on? There's no other offers? Like, no, bro. Like, this is it. This is all that you were able to kind of build up, to garner for your services. And so now I fully agree with what Larry Krueger was saying. They just need to fucking ignore him now.
Yep.
And just ice him and just say, hey, look, we've heard what you want. We've given you our offer. If you don't play in at least 6 games, we start all over again next year, exactly where we're at. Right. And so it's kind of like he doesn't have any leverage. He can't go to them and act like, hey, I want to get a trade or I want to do this. Right. He has no leverage. And so I think now, once he starts missing regular season games, he's gonna lose out on a ton of money and get fines. Now they waived the fines on Nick Bosa because obviously he's an irreplaceable player. But I think they feel like, hey, look, you're a receiver. We can likely replace your services in some form or fashion. So are they going to waive those fines? No, absolutely not. And they haven't announced that yet, but I'm pretty sure they won't. And then it's only a matter of time before Ayuk says, okay, I'll just sign and come back. This is dumb. Because it's like his 5th-year option, the rights fall back to the Niners unless he plays. And he's got to play at least 6 games. So there's no way that he's going to hold out until week 10 to play 6 games. There's no way. That's a bad look. At that point, it's kind of like no one's going to want him around. I mean, I'm just saying that. But it's a bad look. And then he's going to go request another trade. He's not a free agent. The guy's under contract. If anything, he should be kissing the Niners' ass for allowing him to seek out a trade.
Seek a trade,
They didn't have to do that. Now, today, the Jets put out a statement. I don't know if you saw this or not. The Jets put out a statement, and here's what I'll do. I'll actually share a screen so you can see it on the broadcast. So the Jets put out a statement because Hassan Reddick requested a trade. So the GM and the Jets put out the statement saying, we have informed Hassan that we will not trade him, that he is expected to be here with his teammates, and that he will continue to be fined per the CBA if he does not report. Since the trade discussions back in March, we have been clear, direct, and consistent with our position. Our focus remains on the guys we have here as we prepare for the regular season. And so that just shuts everything down.
Yep.
They're like, look, we're not going to trade you. You got to show up. And I think the Niners, they took a different route. They said, okay, well, you want to see a guy trade? Let's see what we get. Oh, nothing really satisfies our needs. The places that kind of did, you didn't want to go there. So now he can act the way he wants to act, but it doesn't mean anything because now I feel like they won't release a statement like this because they're not about, they don't do shit like this. You know what I mean?
No,
but
they don't.
I think this is the message that they're kind of sending him just through their actions. Kind of like, well, what are you going to do, bro? Because you try to seek out a trade that didn't work out. We gave you our offer. I don't know what to tell you. And I think, like I said, when it comes to Trent Williams, I think as we get closer to the season, they're going to end up signing him probably, leading up to week 1.
Yes.
They'll do that.
Yes.
But they're trying to hold off. But then again, he's a Hall of Famer. He's the best offensive lineman in the league. So whatever he gets, kind of like, hey, he's in a different class from you. Because I don't think that Brandon Ayuk, he's really good. He's a really good player. But he's not a generational talent. He's not Jerry Rice. He's not Terrell Owens. He's not the guy where you're like, if we don't have him, I don't know what we're going to do. I mean, look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs had Tyreek Hill. He left, and they won 2 more Super Bowls without him.
Exactly.
And they should have lost those last two, to be honest. But we won't.
Hey, we'll talk about that at a later time because I have my thoughts on that too. Let's go to the SeatGeek feedback zone presented by SeatGeek. Nightfall Drop says the receiving core has me worried. Outside of Debo, Brandon, who still isn't signed, but I think he will, and Jennings, we have no hands. Pearsall, in my opinion, was a waste. I don't think so. I don't think Pearsall was a wasted pick. That's something time's going to have to tell. What are your thoughts so far on Ricky Pearsall, the rookie out of Florida?
You know what? I thought that him coming out, gave them a good option in terms of like having that shifty slot receiver that they didn't have last year, because once you got past Ayuk, Debo, and Jennings, you had like Ray McLeod. You know what I mean? You had Ronnie Bell. You had guys that were unproven, guys that were like, oh, I don't know. I think this guy becomes like your what is that? The guy from the Patriots. I don't want to say Dan. It's not Amendola. Edelman.
Julian
he becomes
Edelman.
like your Julian Edelman. So when Brock rolls out to his left or his right, I think this is the guy that's going to get open. This is the guy that will be open on, in the flat. It gives him more options, and I like the idea of what they did because they didn't really have that shifty, fast kind of slot receiver that they needed. A lot of times they'd be coming out and they'd have Ayuk, Debo, and then in the slot it would be Ray or Jennings, and like I love Juwan Jennings, but he's not fast, so he can't hit those cuts the way that Ricky Pearsall can. My only concern with Ricky Pearsall is his durability. This guy seems like he's made of glass. He's constantly getting hurt. He got hurt on the first practice with pads. They're like, oh, he hurt his shoulder. Like, what?
He did,
dude. Like, don't even let him get touched. And he had a hamstring injury. So starting off,
and it reminds me so much. There was a receiver we had out of Jalen Hurd. There was so much potential with Jalen Hurd when we drafted him out of Baylor. 6'7", great hands, but could not stay on the field. That's the same feeling I'm getting with Ricky Pearsall, and we've got to really deepen that receiver core because Brandon's going to get double teamed. Debo Samuel's going to get double teamed.
Yeah.
Juwan Jennings is our third down receiver. You know the phrase, third and Juwan. Yep. And then you got George the Animal Kittle to deal with. And there are a couple of tight ends that can come in and spell him. Depth is going to be the question that we need to answer. But injuries did do Jalen Hurd in, and I was so excited to see what Jalen Hurd could bring to that 49er offense. Depth is going to help us or hurt us at the receiver position and a couple of other positions. And remember, once upon a time we had Dante Pettis.
Oh God.
Like
I never liked that pick. I was like, I don't get that one.
Yeah, once upon a time we had Dante Pettis.
I think
who caught one key pass in his time with the 49ers, and that was the game winner against Pittsburgh in 2019. Yeah. That was the one key pass that he caught. That's our look on the offensive side of the ball. Let's take a short break, and we come back. Dre and I will break down the defensive side of the ball, including the new defensive coordinator. Back with more of that 49ers show after this.
Are you ready to upgrade your coffee game? Prepare for an invasion of flavor with Invader Coffee. It's the caffeinated elixir that fuels champions, the blend that pushes boundaries. Whether you're battling deadlines or exploring uncharted territories, Invader Coffee has your back. Join the invasion at invadercoffee.com and taste the difference for yourself. Use the code SNOWMAN for 15% off your first order. Invader Coffee, veteran owned.
I want to do a TED Talk, but I don't have anything to talk about yet. I'm getting there.
Life is for the living. We're not here that long.
You can learn anything you want to learn without any money spent.
What do I really enjoy? What do I really want out of life?
I am your host, WIZE.
Are you in a life holding pattern?
Well, this is for you. Welcome to the Stuck in My Mind podcast. Live every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central.
Hey everybody, Snowman here. Looking for the best way to experience live events? Well, SeatGeek has you covered. With just a few taps on your phone, you can find the best seats for concerts, sports, theater, and more. Don't miss out on unforgettable moments. Download the SeatGeek app today and get ready for an experience like no other. Each ticket is vetted for authenticity and ranked on a 1 to 10 scale. And right now, if you sign up and use the code Snowman, you will get $20 off of your first purchase. That's only through the power of SeatGeek, where fans can fan.
When you hear that horn, you know it's time for the San Francisco 49ers. Along with Andre Fernandez, Brian Snow here with you. We are live on both YouTube channels, so we hope that you give both of them a like, a subscribe, and a share. And if you want to help us both out, why don't you consider making a donation to help both of our networks grow? We're going to continue to grow this as well. Nightfall Drop, welcome to you. The Underrated Darkness, welcome to you, as well as Bang Bang 49er Gang. God, I love that. I don't know why I've been playing that. I've been playing that song a lot, to the point where, and I got to say that when the Niners won against Detroit, that was the first song I played after I did my live stream. And unbeknownst to me, my wife was behind me watching me dance very stupidly in delight after they won that game. So I got caught.
It's a great song, though. I love it.
I love it too. And we're gonna wear it out on as the road to New Orleans continues. Let's look at the defensive side of the ball. You know what happened with Steve Wilks. He only lasted 1 year. Nick Sorensen is brought in. Let's start there. Your early thoughts about Nick Sorensen being the defensive coordinator for San Francisco.
Well, the one thing that he needs to clean up that Steve Wilks couldn't figure out was how to stop the screen game. The screen game would destroy us every single time. And you hear a lot of this when you listen to some of the streams that I have with Johnny Dale, because he breaks down video all the time on Johnny Dale's Football Academy. One of the things that Steve Wilks would always do was his defensive schemes were always to put his secondary in the best position to win. And by doing that, he forced the linebackers to cover more area from sideline to sideline. So that's why you always saw the linebackers getting there late or having to run across the field to get to these guys.
Right.
So he's got to do a better job at shoring up the defense against those screens, because those bubble screens would just kill us, because that's how you diffuse a pass rush, is that you do bubble screens so that they rush in and then you just dump it off. And then all of a sudden you have all this open room in the flat. So he's got to figure out a way to do that.
That's how Kansas City got us in overtime. They screened us to death.
They screened
on the last play. They screened us to death. Mahomes ran twice on that game-winning drive. And what was the game-winning play? It was a screen pass out to the right, because the Niners sent the house after him.
Yeah,
and as soon as they sent the house, Mahomes took one step to his right, and the screen pass was wide open. So that's the first thing they got to clean up. We got a great pass rush, but you got to clean that screen. You got to clean the defense of the screen game up. That secondary is going to get the test of a lifetime all season long, because it's been a weak point for San Francisco the last 3 years. Yeah. That's our secondary has been a weak point for us the last 3 years. How do you suppose we clean that up?
Like I said, I mean, the bubble screen is one thing, but like when you go back to 2019, right? Was it 2019 when we went to the Super Bowl? I think it was
19.
Yeah.
19.
That was the 1 year where we had the most dominant pass rush I've ever seen in my life. And on top of that, quarterbacks weren't able to do little dump offs or bubble screens. The only quarterback I saw do that year was Drew Brees. He was really good.
Yeah.
I get rid of the ball fast because he was like, holy shit, they're coming. But our pass rush was so good and our defense was so good that wasn't really even an option. Like the quarterback would drop back, 3-step drop, 7-step drop, and they would just be all over him, especially with DeForest Buckner up the middle. I'm hoping we can get back to that, having a dominant pass rush where the offense clearly has barely any time to get rid of the ball. And we have to be better against the run. I mean, they killed us against the run. A lot of teams did. Look at the Lions. They ran all over the Niners. And so the defense against the run needs to be better. That was something that plagued us all last year, was our inability to really stop the run. And really what they would do is the Niners would always get up early. They'd get up so big that the other team would give up on the run. But when they didn't get up and they had to play them straight up, that's when they had a lot of problems, was trying to stop that running game, because now they're going to run the ball. The Lions ran all over our faces. And then the second half, they went for it on fourth down, like, wait, 4 too many times. I was like, bro, what are you doing?
Exactly. You turn one of those into a field goal. It's a 3-possession game.
Yeah.
It's a 3-possession game with no chance of a comeback, because at that point in time, you kill any piece of momentum that the 49ers gain.
Hey, he was so stupid, dude. He was so stupid.
You make one of those, and it's been broken down and repeated all over all summer. It's been repeated all summer. Yeah. What I want to see from Nick Sorensen is how angry he can make this 49er defense. And when I say that, I want you to go back to 2019 when Robert Saleh was our coach, or hell, even 2 years ago when we had why am I blanking on him? Why am I blanking on that defensive coordinator's name?
You got this.
I can't remember his name.
DeMeco
Ryans. That's the name I'm looking for.
Jamarcus Russell.
No. God, no.
He was the worst.
But
anyway,
even I know better than that. I just couldn't think of DeMeco Ryans. But it was the passion that I saw this 49er defense play with. And for only half a season last year, I saw that under Steve Wilkes. I'm talking about when you're foaming at the mouth to get after the quarterback, when you're foaming at the mouth to raise hell. I want to see if Nick Sorensen can bring that out of this 49er defense. And I'm talking about all 3 levels, the front 4, the linebackers, and the secondary. I want to see that all over the place. I want to see what kind of anger come week 1, because the Jets are yapping. You know the Jets are yapping. Aaron Rodgers is yapping, because Aaron Rodgers hasn't beaten the 49ers since 2012.
No, he hasn't.
Well, I take it back. One regular season game, and that came on a walk-off from Mason Crosby. That was 2021. Man, I want to see this Niners defense play angry. And when I'm talking about angry, I'm talking about controlled anger. Come up to the line, make them think, okay, their offensive line has a shot against us, and then we just tear their asses up for 60 minutes. That's the kind of anger. That's the kind of anger I want to see. Charles Adderley, welcome to you. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks to everyone for stopping in this afternoon as we bring you the premiere edition of That 49er Show. What got you? Let's get to know our co-host here. What got you to be a 49er fan?
I grew up a 49er fan. My brother was a 49er fan. My dad was a 49er fan. My whole family was. And so every Sunday we would watch football. Even when I didn't even understand the game, I was watching it with my family. And so it's for me, at least, it's Sunday tradition that Sunday you watch football. That's like there's nothing else I want to do more than watch football on Sunday. Now, granted, being at the age of 42 with my wife and my 2 kids, there are some days where shit happens and I have to go do stuff now. But
right.
But growing up, Sunday is football day, and so I would watch football, every single Sunday. Watching all the greats play. I got to see Joe Montana. I saw Steve Young. I saw everybody else. And so when you're there with the team through the highs and the lows, you grow a stronger connection and a bigger appreciation for what you have now. I've been a Warrior fan since I was a kid, and they were horrible for years. And I was always like, man, when are we ever going to get better? And now we won 4 championships.
When the place was just known as the Oakland Coliseum.
Yeah.
or the Oakland Coliseum Arena. And the most exciting thing up until recently was Run TMC. Tim Hardaway,
Run
Mitch
TMC.
Richmond,
That
Chris
was
Mullin.
it. That was it, man.
And,
so
Don Nelson tearing his jacket off, saying, "Play some defense, will you please?"
And so
for me, the one
go ahead.
play that made me a 49er fan for life, the catch, the first one.
Oh yeah,
Montana to Dwight Clark in the back of the end zone, because most of my friends didn't have a dog in the fight for that NFC Championship game. I did, because that year, 81, I fell in love with the 49ers. And especially Joe Montana. But my teacher was a big time Cowboy fan. And she kept talking all that Friday. Hey, you know the Cowboys are going to win this Sunday, right? And finally, at the end of the day, I spoke out. And I said, no, they're not. I said the 49ers are going to win, and there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah, that lit a fire. And she says, oh, yeah? How about we make a bet? Bring it on. If the 49ers win, I'll bring in cupcakes on Monday. Well, get ready to bring in some cupcakes, because we're going to eat them. Not knowing what I just opened my mouth and said, not knowing my friends are looking at me going, what the hell are you doing? I was a kid.
Yeah.
Fortunately, even given 6 turnovers, even given 3 of those turnovers being interceptions, Montana became Montana, and the legend was born when he hit Dwight Clark in the back of the end zone.
Absolutely.
And my teacher came in with a smile on her face and said, all right, you win it. We had a ball that Monday talking about the game, but that did it for me. That made me a 49er fan for life. And here I am, many years later. There's 2 other pieces of 49er memorabilia, some that my wife got me, some that my children got me. And when it's football season, it's all about San Francisco. It's all about the 49ers for me.
Oh,
I have one
absolutely.
hope that through part of this season, I'm able to snag Greg Papa and get him on.
Oh, that'd be
and
awesome.
have him talk with us. I got to find a way to make that happen. So we broke down what happened during the Tennessee games. We broke Tennessee game rather. We took a look at the offense, where it could improve, and that's just going to take time. It's going to take practice. It's going to take reps, and it's going to take us staying healthy.
Yeah.
It's going to take us staying healthy, because in 4 of the last 6 years, injuries have kicked our ass.
Big time. And even this year, they're starting to take on injuries. You know, Rocky Sin, he apparently turned his ankle during the pregame walkthrough, which I don't know how you do that, but whatever that means. So he's going to be out in a couple of weeks. Probably won't play next week or this week, and this week's game will be back after that. So that's kind of a short term, but it sounds worse because it's an injury. You're like, oh. And then to hear that Kalia Davis out until he's going to miss half the season after he had a monster game against the Titans. He was living in the backfield. I was so excited for Kalia Davis.
Marvelous.
And then he's hurt. Like, oh. And for him to recover from a knee surgery, that's going to be tough to come back from.
And we've already lost Drake, and we've already lost Drake Jackson for the year.
Jackson's gone.
Jackson is gone.
And so that, again, it hurts the depth of the team. That was the one thing going into the season that I was excited about, was that the amount of depth that we had initially. We looked at the defensive line. Bringing in the guys they did, Jordan Elliott and the other guy from Malik Collins from Texas, the Texans. Bringing in those guys, still having, obviously Nick Bosa, bringing in Leonard Floyd, Hargrave. You had a lot of depth at the defensive position, and you still got guys like Larry Beal, or is it Larry Beal Jr.? I think Larry Beal's Beal. And you still got a lot of guys, and you brought in a Gross Matos. So you're giving your defensive line more depth. And the last time they had a great amount of depth was 2019. They had a ton of guys that can sub in and out. They had DJ Jones. They had they had a few guys that they were able to bring in and give their starters breaks and keep them keep everyone fresh. Solomon Thomas was coming in off the bench, and then towards the end of that season, they all started to get hurt, and a lot of that depth started to disappear when they got in the playoffs. So I'm hoping that they could still have that moving forward. Now we've already lost Drake Jackson, and we've lost Kalia Davis. Now Kalia Davis may or may not have been a huge factor in the season, but the way he looked, I felt like he was going to be.
Yeah.
At the corner position, that was a position last year that was like, dude, Mooney Ward, if you get hurt, I don't know who's going to take your spot.
Right.
They were very, very thin. And then you had, they brought in Ambry Thomas because, what's his name? The slot receiver that we brought in, that Wilkes brought in, was terrible.
Yeah.
And
he was awful.
So it was awful. And so now you look at their corners, or I'd say their secondary, and they're loaded with players, right? But then what happens? So Rocky Sin gets hurt. Couple of weeks. Okay, we know he'll be back. Ambry Thomas breaks his forearm. He'll be back mid-season. So at least you could say, hey, at mid-season, we got a couple of reinforcements that are going to come back to give these guys some help. But you got to have them all year.
You got to get there. Kerry Hyder was another member of the 2019 team.
Yeah, Kerry Hyder.
Kerry Hyder was a big member of the team.
I'm not sure if Ekubon was too, but that might have been the year after.
Ekubon was 2 years after.
Yeah, 2 years after. And I liked him too.
I liked Ekubon.
Yeah.
I hate seeing him go. I hated seeing DeForest Buckner go.
Oh, I know.
Because you interrupted that defensive line was.
That was the biggest fuck up that they made so far.
It is.
Wise. I was like, I didn't get that move. I was like, how did you trade? Because they thought, oh, well, we can draft Kinlaw. No, we'll draft Kinlaw and we'll replace him. But it didn't.
And then you had Eric Armstead, and now Eric Armstead has been torn to shreds.
Yeah, and there's a reason why he's not here anymore, and he's on the PUP list.
Yes,
so he's always going to be hurt.
So that was a smart move, because we saw that at the tail end of last year when Armstead could barely stay on the field, and when he did come back, he was not at the level where he once was when he had DeForest Buckner or Javon Kinlaw and Nick Bosa surrounding him. And now where's Eric Armstead? Like you said, he's on the PUP list, and he's not playing.
Oh, and everybody said, oh, well, when he comes back. That should shore up our run defense. It really didn't, because he wasn't even 100%. He's got a what is it, like an Achilles, or he has some kind of foot injury that's not getting any better. It's only going to get worse. And so every year he was like, oh, my foot's hurting me. I'm out 3 games, 4 games, whatever, So I think getting Jordan Elliott and Malik Collins to replace Eric Armstead, I love the move, because now. You could argue, well, you're bringing in 2 guys to replace one. No, what you're doing is you're bringing in 2 guys at, taking his salary, getting 2 guys, and now you're giving your defensive line more depth, and that's what I want to see more of. So I think that was a good move.
We got New Orleans coming up this week in the preseason. Your early thoughts on New Orleans?
Well, I mean, I haven't seen too much in New Orleans. I'm just mainly following the Niners right now, but. The fact that they canceled the joint practices, I think, some people were kind of spinning that like Kyle was trying to pull something. I think it was what he said. They got injuries. They're not fully loaded, and he doesn't want to go in there. He doesn't want to go in there with some of his, players. He doesn't want to risk any more injury for players going against other teams' players, or they're going, they're going to be going harder. And so all of a sudden, here comes more injuries at practice. No, fuck that. We're gonna control practice. They have a day off today. Yesterday, they did a no pads practice. So they're trying to take care of their players. They're like, look, we don't want any injuries. We don't want any things, popping up. We want to make sure that these guys are taken care of as much as possible. So for me, I think it was a good move. It was a precautionary move, and I don't understand why people are crying about that. I'm like, look, it shows you that they care, that they're paying attention to the status of their roster, and I like that.
I like that too. And you said something so very true, that people want to spin it saying, oh, they're scared. They don't want to do joint practice. They don't. I actually heard this. I swear to you, I heard this. They're scared.
No, I did too.
They don't want to. They don't want to do joint practices. No, the Niners are beat up. You fool. Yeah. They're beat up.
And if they're beat up, you want them to go against another team in practice and risk more injury? No, I don't think so.
And only have half their team going into September 9th in Santa Clara, when we get a chance to lick our chops and beat the hell out of Aaron Rodgers? No thanks. I'd rather go into that game completely healthy with the players that we have and the mindset that we have. Because I can guarantee you, more time under Sorensen, that defense is going to regain its nasty and be ready to come after any and everybody. Dominic Puny, and you put this
Pooney.
I said it wrong. I'm sorry.
He's not puny anyway. He's big
No, dear God, he's not puny. I wouldn't want to. I stand 6'5", and I don't want to go up against him. I'll look like a gnat.
Yeah, you're 6'5".
Yes,
I'm 5'8".
Look, if it makes you feel any better, I stood next to Shaquille O'Neal and I felt like a gnat.
Well, yeah, I would imagine. You feel like a gnat. Imagine if I stood there. Jesus, I don't even know what I would feel like. I feel smaller than a gnat.
Yeah. Your thoughts on Dominic Puny?
I thought he looked really good in pass protection. Anytime that Allen or Dobbs drop back to pass, look at it this way. In that game, he gave up 0 sacks and 0 pressures.
Right.
And that's great for a rookie to come in and do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we know that he's, calling him a rookie is kind of like that's oversimplification. He is really, really good. And by not giving up any pressures or any sacks, that shows that he can hold his own out there. We'll see how he does next week. But I think that he showed that when it comes to pass protection, he's really, really good. On the run blocking, he wasn't as good. There were a couple times where I saw him kind of trail off to the side or kind of lose his spot. But never was it a huge detriment to the team where it was like, oh, God, what'd you just do? You just blew that up. He had a play. I forgot who he was going against. I thought it was Sebastian Joseph Day, which I thought was funny, but I think it was somebody else where Brandon Allen dropped back to pass, and the lineman came at him, and he ends up putting him on the ground, and then basically teabagging him because the guy tried to get up between his legs. He was like, yeah, no, I don't think so. And to me, I was like, man, this guy is really, really good. And I don't think that he's going to give up his spot when Spencer Burford comes back. I think that Pooney is going to be the right guard moving forward.
I think Pooney would be great at right guard.
Yeah.
I think Pooney would be great at right guard. And I was looking at his number when I was watching the game Saturday. Thoughts of William Bubba Paris came to mind.
Yeah,
and
there you
anyone
go.
who is familiar with Frisco knows how big on the offensive line Bubba Paris was.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
No.
So that offensive line is going to get in shape. Thank you, Nightfall, for coming in. We appreciate it. And before we leave, a shout to Patrick Willis, Hall of Famer.
Absolutely. And that was a cool video to see. I don't know if you saw it or not, but like there was footage of him getting to see all of his ex-teammates, Frank Gore and Jim Harbaugh. It was great.
Loved it. Speaking of Hall of Fame, there is one 49er that should already be there, and yet he's not there. Last name Craig. First name Roger.
I think he should be there.
Roger Craig should have been in the Hall of Fame.
He should have. Although every time I think of Roger Craig, I think of the fumble against the Giants in the NFC.
I know.
That's all I think of. I remember as a kid, I was like,
and that's part of the. And I think that's part of the reason he's going to stay out.
Yeah.
Of the Hall of Fame. It shouldn't be that way, but well, that's an argument. That's an argument for another time.
But even Patrick Willis, I'm glad he's in there. He was great, but he had a very short career. And, it was cut short by his injury with the turf toe and everything else.
Yeah.
So I was surprised they put him in. Like, Navarro Bowman was great, but he's never going to get in there because of all the injuries he had. After the Seahawks game, he was never the same.
We got ripped off in that NFC Championship game in Seattle. We got ripped off.
Something was up. Something was going on there. I don't know.
Look, I was watching the game with my mom, and I'm seeing Navarro Bowman strip the ball, take it away, and they award the ball back to Seattle. And my mom didn't say anything, and I'm yelling at the television, going, "Hey, that's our ball!"
He landed on the ground with the ball,
with the ball in his hand, with the ball in his arm.
Well, he let it go, like he was on the ground. What the?
The ball was on his chest, and he clutched the ball. Oh my gosh!
Well, you know what?
We got ripped off.
But see, that was
that
the only
game.
time where the football gods tried to help out, because I want to say after that turnover, that's when what's his name, Beast Mode. He fumbled Marshawn Lynch. He fumbled the ball on the goal line, and Niners got it back. And Marshawn was like, "Oh my god!" That was like, "Oh my god, it's destiny," and then it wasn't. But,
no, it was. I wish it were.
There's an entire video that talks about the conspiracy against the Niners in that game.
Yes.
There was some weird stuff in that game that I was like, "Whoa, what the hell?"
Because somehow Seattle gained an extra 45 seconds.
Yeah, I remember that.
Quarters.
I was like, "Whoa!"
I didn't think about it until I saw that video breakdown.
Yeah.
Wow. Makes you think, doesn't it?
But that game was over before we even knew it. It was like he threw it, tipped in the air, interception. Me and my family were just like,
What?
Is it over? What just happened? You know what I mean? And the game was already over. We're like, oh, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Turn us off.
Yeah.
And that was a game in which, at that time, the Seattle Seahawks were the villains, and they loved it.
Yes, they were.
And you know what? The way they acted and the way that those fans behaved, they absolutely had it coming. That Russell Wilson throws the pick against the Patriots and they lose the game. I never cheered so loud. All my friends, we watched that game. You would have thought the room was full of Patriot fans.
Yes.
Like,
Same here. Same here.
Great.
I was with a bunch of my friends who were Niner fans, and we watched what happened in Seattle. I got a bunch of friends that are Seahawks fans saying, "See, you all don't deserve a Super Bowl."
Yeah,
and after that, Russell Wilson, and after that Russell Wilson pass, I went behind them and I said, "Look, y'all had that coming for the officials screwing us in that NFC Championship because we socked them in the mouth."
Exactly.
We socked them in the mouth.
Let me ask you a question, Snowman. After watching the preseason game, who would you rather have as your quarterback number 2, Josh Dobbs or Brandon Allen?
Josh Dobbs.
Yeah,
I'd rather have
Josh
Dobbs as my number 2.
He gives you more flexibility because he's more mobile.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly the way every offense is turned to now.
Yeah.
In the NFL, I got to go with Josh Dobbs as my number 2.
I think so. And it was weird that he started Brandon Allen. I think he started him because they wanted to see what he's got. And he had some good throws.
But he's not mobile.
He's not mobile at all.
He's not mobile. I mean, he stands like a statue in the pocket waiting for defenses to eat him up. Meanwhile, Josh and Brock can get out of there. And don't get it twisted that Brock can't run. The NFC Championship should have told you that story.
Yeah, no, he can when he has to. He can run. I don't know, the NFC title game was insane. He also had a big run against the Packers too.
He did.
But there was one more thing I was going to ask you about. Here's a trade scenario for the IU. Somebody made up. I was like, no, whatever. But some breaking news. It looks like J.J. McCarthy is expected to undergo knee surgery that will determine how much he'll be sidelined for. Now, that's a huge blow if you're the Vikings, because he was looking really good. Now he's going to be out for probably half the year, I would imagine. They said he has some torn meniscus. So, if you're Sam Darnold, you're like, yes,
and
starting.
The Lions took a blow also, losing Jahmyr Gibbs.
There was a report last night that they're fearing that it could be an ACL injury. And if that's the case and he's out for the year, that's going to greatly affect their offense. I mean,
yeah.
And that's another case right there where you had Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery. You had the fastback, then you had the Montgomery, who was the smaller but tougher, hard hitting back. And I think that's what the Niners can do when it comes to McCaffrey and Jordan Mason. But the problem with Mason is that he has to get better at his blocking assignments in terms of pass rush, which I think he will. But he also has to be somewhat of a threat in terms of catching the ball. I know he worked extensively in the offseason on
who could be that back though? You know who could be that back though?
Who?
Elijah Mitchell.
He can, but he's hurt right now.
Yeah. And I hate that. And I hate that for him because after his rookie year, it seems like he's always getting hurt.
He's always hurt. And that's his problem, is that he's Larry Krueger puts it, he's a small man with a big man's running game where he just goes hard at people. I mean, even when he scored that touchdown against the Lions, I mean, he went head first.
He went head
into
first.
two guys, and he got a touchdown.
He went head first.
So I love Elijah Mitchell, but I mean, the way this season is going, I don't think you get rid of him. I think, based on the way injuries occur, I mean, obviously he stays on the roster, but I think that Elijah Mitchell may go the way of like Matt Breida, where eventually you just kind of have to move on from the guy and give him a shot somewhere else. But we'll see, because at any time, McCaffrey, could go down, and then that opens things right back up again. So
But then you got Breida, who's back in the offense and very familiar with it.
He is, and I think he's more of a fail safe. Like, if more than one of them goes down, you have a guy who knows the offense. And I think that they might use him in other things too. But him being so small as he is, maybe a kick returner at times. Who knows? But the new kickoff setup is weird, man. I don't really get it.
I don't want to even talk about that.
I'm not used to it.
I don't want to even talk about that kickoff setup because it made me throw up.
Yeah, I was
it made me throw up. And whenever I'm hoping you come on with me and do the live stream play-by-play calls when I cover the 49ers, because I'm going to have to find some way to not say any bad words when it comes to that kickoff setup, because I looked at my wife. I looked at my wife when we saw it. She looked at me and she says, well, I'm like, well, what? She goes, you're the football expert. Explain this. Honey, I got one problem. She says, what's that? I can't explain this.
Yeah. Well, and then it's like, oh, if you kick it over here, then they go to the 30. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? They got the 30.
Exactly.
So 2 plays and they were in field goal range. Like, that's ridiculous.
That's the first thing that my wife said when she looked at me. When we saw that formation, she looked at me and went, what the fuck? And I'm going, baby, I don't have an answer to that.
I thought I was watching the XFL. I'm like, what is this? I don't understand. Like, and you know what? Like, I get it. They want that play to be more exciting, but like, I mean, it's like, you can't just go changing the game,
They formed it wrong. And
they're like, if you can pass that first line of defense, and then that's the other thing too. The Niners need to show up is their special teams look god awful.
Yes.
It looked like they weren't ready for that. They were like, oh shit, what do we do? They were that one guy almost ran it back. I was like, oh god.
Yeah. Already joining us. Shout out to the XFL, but I don't want to see that kickoff rule.
It's gonna be there.
It's too confusing for me.
Yeah, it was weird.
I
didn't really get it. And I'm sorry, but when you got to put up a fucking graphic that shows you all the breakdown of the rules, you're like, what? Like, God forbid I'm drinking. I'll be like, what am I looking at?
I mean, what the hell are we playing? Tic-tac-toe here?
Yeah, it's just weird. It's just weird.
Am I going to see Wink Martindale? Am I going to see Wink Martindale come on the screen talking about tic-tac-toe or something like that? What the hell?
But no, it's just a little weird. So
it is.
We'll see how that goes. No, real quick. We kind of touched on Sam Darnold. He actually had a quote via Albert Breer. He talked about Brock Purdy. He said, he talked about last season. He said, I just learned so much in San Francisco, not only from the coaches, but from the players. The way Brock prepared every single week was inspiring to me. We didn't leave one stone unturned throughout the week. And he's talking about Mr. Irrelevant. You know what I mean? He's talking about the last pick in the draft on his second year inspired him, the way that he prepares for game day. That says a lot, man. That says a lot. It does.
Oh, and by the way, to all the folks, Cameron, Jarrell, Newton, that still think Brock Purdy is a game manager, watch this. That's all I'm going to say. Why? That's for another time, because that'll be another 30 minutes, and I don't have it right now because I got to get ready to do another interview. But we hope y'all enjoyed this premiere edition of that 49ers show. We're going to tighten the ship up. We're going to make it better. Andre Fernandez, yours truly, Brian Snow, here with you. Thank you very much. And, man, I will see you next week when we do it all again.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, partner. Saints and Niners next Sunday in Santa Clara. See you then. And there it is.
All right, man.
All right.